This one night, the police paddy wagons started at each end of the cross and they were going into the strip clubs, arresting people. So the buzzer went, he said, they're coming upstairs. So I thought, what am I going to do? So I jumped out the window and I'm on the first floor. I'm not on the ground floor. I was half naked.
Hey there, it's Connor Muller and welcome to Let's Chat Showbiz. This podcast is all about Australian showbiz. We're talking the glitz, the glam, the tough times and everything in between. Let's get this show on the road. Today we are joined by transgender and much-loved performer. She's worked alongside some of the best in the biz, from Lay Girls in King's Cross to more recently starring in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert on the Gold Coast. We're of course talking about Adelaide's very own Vonni. So welcome Vonni, it's good to have you here.
Oh, thank you Connor, thank you for asking me. I'm very excited and feel privileged that I'm the first one.
You are the first one. We couldn't have you. Being an Adelaide icon, we had to have you, Vonni.
Thank you darling, you're too kind.
Now, you've recently starred in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert on the Gold Coast. How was that?
A couple of years ago. 2022.
Right.
It was the highlight of my whole career, just singing live in a theatre and to get that role. So I was the first transgender woman in Australia to get that role.
Which, that's quite big. That's huge, really.
And the second in the world.
Yeah, second in the world.
Yeah.
Right,
So
okay.
I was nervous and it all came about because Carlotta came to Adelaide to do a show at the Regal Theatre for Marcus Hammonds.
Yep.
And he said that he wanted 2 40-minute shows. And she said, I only do an hour. And he said, no, you have to do 2 shows because we take the money on the bar.
Yeah.
So she rang me and said, hey, girl, can you do 15 minutes in my show live? I said, yeah, I can. I've got a backing track.
Yeah.
She said, no backing track, you've got to sing with the band. So I said, as long as I can have a rehearsal. And she said, well, it's with Michael Griffiths, who's Adelaide based. So I went round his house. I rehearsed a few times and I said, yeah, I'll do it. And then when they were discussing Priscilla on the Gold Coast, because the producers were on the Gold Coast, Matt Ward, fantastic. They just said, you know, who can we get? Who's in Australia that can sing? And Carlotta said, well, Vonnie sang at my show. She was great. And he went, really? Let's try and give her a go. So they flew me up to the Gold Coast for a 3-day work thing.
Yeah.
And I got it.
So it was Carlotta that started it, instigated a bit,
She just said to Trevor, I reckon Vonnie could do it.
Yeah.
And so he just said, well, let's do it. Got a workshop happening.
Yeah.
And it was all auditions happening. They flew me up. They put me up in a nice hotel. I had to be there for 4 days.
Yeah.
Dance rehearsals, acting rehearsals, everything, all the words and everything. And then at the end, they took me out for dinner and came out and said, Vonnie, we'd like to tell you that you got the job.
Oh, wow.
Cried. And then Carlotta said, I knew you'd get it. She came out, she was hiding around the bushes.
Yeah.
I knew you'd get it.
And you worked with some of the best in that production. You had people like Paulini and Trevor Ashley, of course.
Trevor Ashley directed it.
Yep.
And Keen Fletcher was in it. And when he came in it, he just finished doing Phantom of the Opera on the Sydney Harbour.
Oh, wow.
And since then, he did Rocky Horror, travelled around with that.
Yep.
And now he's just finished doing the Titanic.
Oh, yeah, the musical in Melbourne.
The musical, he's just finished doing that. Now he's doing all Christmas stuff on his own. He's fantastic. And he played Tick.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then a young kid called Jared, he played Felicia, Jolly Good Fella.
Yes,
Felicia,
yeah. And then recently you played Bernadette again in a local company here in Adelaide.
Yeah, well, because the one on the Gold Coast was my first ever theatrical experience, I saw they were doing it here, and it was by the Gilbert and Sullivan Society of South Australia, which is a very good amateur production team. And I thought, I might just go to the interview for the audition.
Yeah. So
I went, and some of the gays knew me, and they go, Vonnie's here. Vonnie's here. And I auditioned and I got it.
Yeah.
And it was good, but there was no money involved.
No.
It was an amateur production. I wanted the experience. I wanted to get more experience of doing it. And because this year is the 30th anniversary of the movie, I just thought surely someone's going to pick it up and do another production.
Yes.
So I wanted it in my head. So that's why I did that one, to get it in my head again. But no one's done it.
Yeah, not yet.
Well, they did it in London.
Yeah.
And Trevor did that.
He did, yes. Yeah.
He played his original role of misunderstanding. And he stayed there, and now he's doing the producers.
Yeah.
He's got the main character in the producers. He's such an Australian, fantastic Australian, iconic talent. He's just brilliant, and his voice.
I first saw Trevor when he did his show with Rhonda at Marcus's events with the Absolutely. They did an ABBA group, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, they took me out for dinner that night.
Yeah, because you were DJing that night, I think.
I DJed
beforehand.
that night.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. That was something Marcus just said, because the COVID was sort of happening.
That's right.
And just they didn't want people congregating in the foyer, big crowds.
Yeah.
So he said, let's open up an hour early. Vonni just do some DJing. They're all sitting in their chairs. They can go to 2 different bars.
Yeah.
It was a good idea.
Yeah, very good.
It was a good idea.
And now
And then they took me out for dinner after that.
Oh.
And then Trevor said, oh, Rhonda, we get Vonni to do Priscilla.
Ah.
And she said, are you nervous? I said, yeah, really, really nervous. But she gave me some good tips and, you know.
I mean, Rhonda Birchmore, she's just brilliant.
I love her.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Now, the original Priscilla Bus. Tell us what's happening with the original bus from Priscilla.
Right. So the History Museum of South Australia have bought it. It was just found on a paddock in country New South Wales, and this guy didn't really know what he had. And he was down the pub and said, all these people, to the bar people, all these people keep asking me about that bus that's on my property. And they said, oh yeah, that's the Priscilla bus. He said, what Priscilla? He said, the movie Priscilla that was in the bar. And he offered it first to the Broken Heel Festival.
Yep.
But they couldn't afford it. And so the museum have bought it and invited me to be a glambassador for the cause to help them raise money to do it up.
Yeah.
So I reckon it'll be a couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe coincide with the sequel of the movie. Possibly.
Yeah.
And dear June, who was in the movie, she played the bigger girl in the pub, the one that says, no, you can't have nothing. She just passed away.
Yeah, I did see that
last week.
Yes.
And I live streamed her funeral. It was beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
And Stephen Elliott, who did the movie, had offered her a bit in the sequel. Yep. But unfortunately, she's not here.
Yes.
But he gave a lovely speech about her and talked about her when she came for the audition for the movie.
Yeah.
And she'd just finished doing Hello Dolly, so she didn't know what Priscilla was. So she arrived in all the Hello Dolly stuff. And he said, well, that's very nice, but can you please go to wardrobe? And she came out wearing that tank top. And he said, now go and roll in the mud because you need to look a bit feral. So she's very proper. June is so proper and just a beautiful lady.
Yeah.
And she doesn't drink, and she had to do those pretend shots. And it took quite a few takes, and she must have drunk 2 jugs of water doing those shots. And he said, stop, do you need to go to the loo, love? And she said, no, I'll be all right. I'll get into character more. But if you could hurry up, that'd be good.
Oh, God, yes. Have you met many of the casts from the original Priscilla, other than June? Have you met any of the others?
No.
No?
No, I haven't met any of them.
Not yet?
No, not yet, no. Just June, and she was and through Film a Box and originally through the Broken Hill Festival, we got her involved in the Broken Hill Festival with us.
Yep.
And Filmer who's very, very clever, put all this stuff together and did a remix of everyone saying, oh, where are you ladies from? Uranus? And he had it on a loop. And so we put it to a disco beat.
Oh, God.
And then he made this great big, massive live stand-up bust of
I've
Shirl.
seen that, yeah.
And Shirl came out from behind it, all in yellow, in a beautiful yellow dress with all flowers in the hair, going, yes, you can have anything.
That's fantastic, isn't it?
That was all Filmer doing that.
Yeah, and you've been involved in the Broken Hill Festival for a few years off and on, haven't you?
Yeah, I did the first, I didn't do the very first one, and then I did 5, then we didn't do a few, and then I've just done the last one.
The last one?
Yeah.
How sad.
Well, you never know.
That's right, we don't know.
They've got other projects at the moment. They're building, they own all the buildings next to the Palace, the famous Palace Hotel where Priscilla was filmed.
Yes.
And they own all the buildings next to it. And they just want to do the rooms up and build more accommodation. Broken Hill is lacking accommodation. It might take a couple of years. They don't want people walking around through scaffolding.
No.
So we'll see.
See what
And, you know,
happens.
it might just coincide with the movie again and the bus.
Never
and
say never.
If everything comes together, I think we might be able to convince them to do it because they're really lovely, lovely
Yeah,
girls.
okay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Esther and Selena,
Yeah.
they're just beautiful ladies and very hospitable. And I was glad to go back.
Yeah, of course. Now let's go back to Lay Girls. When did you start in Lay Girls?
Well, I was working here in Adelaide in a strip club, the very first strip club in Adelaide on Harley Street called La Belle.
Right.
Way before Crazy Horse. And Lay Girls, the Melbourne touring show of Lay Girls came to Adelaide and they were performing at the Castle Hotel on South Road. People might know where it's called Castle Plaza now.
Yeah.
So people might know where it is. And they were there and they used to come into La Belle and I befriended one of them. And she said to me, one of the cast is leaving, you should audition. I said, I can't audition, I can't dance to save my life. And she said, just audition. So I auditioned and I got the job. And so I left Adelaide and went on tour around Australia with them. Ended up in Melbourne, that was in 1978.
Yeah, wow, right.
Ended up in Melbourne and I got a flat with one of the cast members because we were there for a while.
Yeah.
We had no work and we started working in the R-rated cinemas where they showed blue movies and in between each movie they had a stripper and it was us.
Of course.
So it was all Lay Girls working there as female strippers. And then one day I got home and there was a message on the machine for me, on your home machine. And it says, hi, this is Carol. Could Vonni please ring me? And it was a Sydney number. And of course, Carol is Carlotta's real name. And she said, hi, it's Carlotta here. I was wondering if you would like to come and be our resident stripper in King's Cross Lay Girls. And that was in 1983.
Right.
And I said, yes, I'd love to. So they gave me my train fare. And so I could take all my suitcases and costumes and belongings. And I was there for quite a long time. We ended up she left and went on tour. And she ended up living in Queensland. And she wrote a book. She came back and was going into the show. I had left by then.
Right.
And I was working in the strip clubs in King's Cross, feral as, for gangsters and bloody drug lords. Don't know what I was thinking, but the money was good.
The money spoke.
And she had nowhere to live. And I said, well, I've got a spare room. Just come and stay with me for a couple of weeks until you get your own place. And it ended up being nearly 4 years.
Wow.
And then when she did move out, she only moved across the road and we could still wave to each other from our balconies. And I'd ring and say, I said, love, for the last 6 weeks, I let her live there rent-free so she could save up a bond for her place. And when she moved out, I was going through her bedroom and all that, and she'd left beautiful costumes, about 4 costumes hanging up. And I rang and said, I'll bring them over, put the kettle on. She said, no, love, I left them for you. Thank you for letting me stay there for 6 weeks.
Wow. Wow.
So I still have some of them.
And you're still good friends with Carlotta to this day?
Yeah, great friends. Yeah. I went up for her 80th birthday and stayed with her, which was last year. This year she turned 81. And just a few weeks ago, she came to Adelaide for her manager, who is Michael Griffiths. And he's the one that arranges all the music. And it's his band that she sings with. And he plays the piano and organ for her. And it was his 50th. And normally she would stay with him. But because it was his birthday, all his family were here.
Of course.
So she said, can I stay with you? I said, of course you can. So I quickly run out and buy a bloody sofa bed.
The things you do, hey?
Yeah. So, and it was good having her there. And we had a little soiree on the Sunday and she had invited Wilsey and Hans the German and Peter Gerst from the ABC and Rochelle and Fifi came and it was about 14 of us. It was great.
Yeah. Oh, lovely. Lovely. Now, in 2015, you hosted an event for a Eurovision winner. Now, tell us about that.
Well, it was Feast Festival, and Feast were bringing Conchita Wurst over from Vienna, and she had, in 2014, won Eurovision with that fantastic song, Rise Like a Phoenix. And the head of Feast at the time asked me if I would like to host her event. And it was in between the uni, so it was from Hindley Street through to North Terrace in one of the streets.
Oh, wow.
And they built all this big scaffolding, massive stage.
Yeah, wow.
And they sold nearly 2,000 tickets. And it was amazing. So she was here for a few days, but for the whole few days that Feast at Hyder, she'd only agreed to sing 3 songs.
Right.
And she'd already sang 1 on the opening night. So we only got 2 songs. So we had to build a show somehow. So luckily I knew ahead of time. So I started doing weekly competitions. I was working at the Ed then and the Colonel Light Hotel. And so, on a Sunday with Vonnie's Big Arvo.
Right. And
I just started holding drag competitions each week. And the winner got to be in my Eurovision show. And so we did a big, I chose all the songs for each one of them. Said, you got to do this, you got to do that, learn it. And so we did a Eurovision opening for her, which went for about 20 minutes with all flags. And I had all of Adelaide's creme de la creme of drag queens at the time. And Rochelle and Fifi were there, Princess Leia was there. And then Maxi Shield came over from Sydney and she was in it. Because she had her own show for Feast.
Oh, okay.
So I said, well, why are you here? Do you want to come on and do that? She did. I think there was 20 of us.
Wow.
And then we did there's some radio station was there and they were doing is it ULAN, where you do sign language?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
We did I'm Every Woman to that. Wow. And then I brought Conchita out and she did it with us.
Oh, wow.
We'd been taught it for 5 minutes. But we did it. She sang 1 song and then the ending was Rise Like a Phoenix. So the show went for maybe an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, wow.
All up.
So that was a highlight for you of your career?
No, Priscilla was.
Oh, Priscilla, but of course.
But Conchita was a close second.
Follow-up,
until I got Priscilla, she was the first.
Right, yeah.
And so that was in November. Then in March, I went over to do Mardi Gras. And I was at the Opera House watching a show. I'd been to see her show the night before with Courtney Act and Trevor Ashley.
Yeah.
And I went to see another show the next day and I'm sitting there and this guy's coming towards me and I thought, oh, that guy looks like Prince. And he came up and said, hello, Vonni. And I said, hi, darling. She said, it's Conchita. I went, oh!
How lovely.
And then we caught up like a few times over the years. I'd gone whenever she was there for Mardi Gras.
Yeah,
I was there and she always was very close friends with Trevor and always in Trevor's shows. And because I was friends with Trevor, so we got to catch up away from all the fanfare and everything.
Yeah, lovely.
It was lovely.
Now, just going back to when you worked at King's Cross,
you
must have seen some sights. Were you ever scared? Was it a scary time for you?
No, not really. I just kept to myself. I saw a lot of things that I wish I hadn't seen, but I just sipped it and never talked about it. But I did get arrested and put in jail once because the Nick Greiner government got in 1988. Nick Greiner got in and he did this massive Clean Up the Cross campaign and he wanted all the prostitutes off the street and the only place for them to go was in the strip clubs.
Right.
So, everyone thought that people who worked in strip clubs were all prostitutes and there's nothing wrong with that. But the strippers were the strippers and the prostitutes were the prostitutes. And the strippers went from club to club to club because the people owned several clubs. So you start in one, then you go to the next, then you go to the next, then you go to the next, doing exactly the same show. Then you'd come back to the first one and change your outfit and go again. And you did 4 shows in each club nightly. But this one night, the police paddy wagons started at each end of the cross and they were going into the strip clubs, arresting people. I was just about to go on, so they dragged me out. I was half naked. They just let me put my little happy coat on. And we got taken to Goulburn Street Police Station and fingerprinted and photographed.
God.
And I was charged with aiding and abetting because we were working there and they didn't have licenses for entertainment or alcohol licenses and they were serving alcohol and they had entertainment.
God.
So we had to go to court, but we got off on a misdemeanor. We didn't know. We didn't know they didn't have the licenses.
What a scary time.
But so I got arrested the first night and they were there every night for a week. And I was upstairs in the dressing room of Love Machine, which is just about opposite the railway station, King's Cross Rail Station. And I saw the paddy wagon pull up at the news agency. So I buzzed downstairs and I said, if they come in, let me know because I can't get arrested again. And they said, all right. So the buzzer went. He said, they're coming upstairs. So I thought, what am I going to do? So I jumped out the window and I'm on the first floor. I'm not on the ground floor. And I landed on the rostrum and I ran up the rostrum until I found another open window and I just climbed in. And it was the illegal gambling place, and all the Italians were there doing their and smoking on their cigars and all that. And this topless waitress, and she said, "Are you the other waitress? You're late." I said, "Yes, love. I've just climbed in the window. I'm the other waitress." She would grab a tray. So I went, and I just didn't get arrested that night.
God, what a story!
And I made more money that night than I would have if I'd stayed at work.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. And you were recently inducted into the South Australian Pride Hall of Fame.
This year, what a night. I was so...
I was there that night and the room just erupted. It did. It really erupted the room. Everyone was thrilled. Oh,
that's very kind. Thank you. I did shows in Adelaide for such a long time. I came back when I'd had a gutful of the strip clubs. In 1996, I came back to Adelaide and, you know, I was just working in the clubs and they're going, "Oh, if you want to see me, Mum would have stayed at home. Bring your daughter on." I thought, I got the hint. I was 47 and I just got the hint.
Right.
So I just left. I'd had a breakup with a boyfriend I'd been with for 5 years and I thought, now's the time to go. Came back to Adelaide and I got work straight away in a gay bar, the Edinburgh Castle Hotel on Curry Street, corner of Curry and Grey Street, just as a glassy, collecting ashtrays, doing the bar. And then I started doing spot shows and then they gave me every Sunday. Then they closed down and I went somewhere else with it. Then they closed down and I went somewhere else with it. And I just...
So you've been everywhere, all over.
So since 96, really, I just had shows everywhere. And I always did Mars Bar with Rochelle and Fifi on long weekends. Or if Rochelle was away, I always did Mars Bar and hosted for Rochelle, which was nice.
And you did a Fringe show at one point, didn't you?
With Rochelle and Fifi, Girly Side of Butch. We did a few. We did Girly Side of Butch, which was all live. We wrote it ourselves. Shove It Where It Fits. We did that. That was all about Botox. Confessions of a Diva. And we wrote it all ourselves. And it was quite good. And then we had a television show on Channel 31 called Get Up Tucked. We wanted to call it Get Tucked. But they said, you can't call it Get Tucked. Sounds too similar to another word. So we had to call it Get Up Tucked.
Yeah.
And we did 13 episodes and we won awards for it. And we got Best Variety Show on Channel 31 and Best Production on Channel 31. And
yeah, wow.
It was good.
Yeah,
we won little televisions, little gold tellies. It was good.
Oh, wow.
And it was Rochelle and Fifi that initially got me singing.
Right.
Got me to sing. Because before that, I would never have thought of doing it. And I said, I can't hold a tune in a bucket. But they said, just come and have a go. And I did and had some singing lessons and it was all right.
That's good. And now, I always see on your Facebook, you always post about your lovely mum. How is your mum?
She's good. I was a carer for 7 years, but she needed more help. She's in a nursing home now and she loves it. You've got to make an appointment to see her. If you just turn up, she's at the bingo or she's at trivia or she's at the little bowl, because she's in a wheelchair now.
Yeah.
But she does the bowling from the wheelchair and they have little groups and afternoon teas and they even have happy hour where they have a wine and she enjoys it. And I still see her twice a week.
Yeah.
One day through the week, I'll take her to her appointments or out for lunch. And then on Sundays, I go to see her and I take her into the gardens of the home and I change her hearing aid batteries and take any washing home that she's got. And
oh, lovely.
Yeah, so I still see her twice a week.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah, lovely, lovely. Now, obviously, you're still living in Adelaide.
Yes.
How do you find Adelaide?
When I was younger, I hated it and I couldn't wait to leave. And so when I joined Lay Girls, it was like I ran away with a circus almost. But, I was younger then and I just thought Adelaide was so boring. But now I think Adelaide is the best place in Australia. I really do, with all the festivals and all the sports events. And I mean, Adelaide is just so, so good. And all the new fabulous buildings and all along the River Torrens. It is spectacular. And it's still relatively cheap to buy
Yeah.
a place. I've just very lucky that I was in a position where I could sell my house and pay off what I owed on the mortgage. And now I've bought a little unit outright. I've got no mortgage. I couldn't have done that in Sydney or Melbourne or there's nowhere else in Australia that I could have done that. And I'm just, you know, not far from Glenelg and it's just near the beach and really happy. I got my little doggy. She was going to come today, but it's too cold. I didn't want her to burn her little paws on the pavement.
Oh, lovely. So where can we see you next? What's happening with Vonni now?
Well, depending on when this goes to air.
Right. We're looking at next year. So
I don't know.
Everywhere.
I don't know. So I've still got a monthly bingo out at Oakden at Founders Restaurant. I've been doing that now this is my third Christmas. And I do that with Shania and Fifi and Princess Leia and Jamon and one of the gorgeous girls from Mary's, that
Ellie Delight.
Ellie Delight.
Yeah.
Oh, she's just amazing and so lovely to talk to. And very appreciative of her elders and who paved the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love her. So I'm doing that. I'll probably be still doing it next year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what next year has for me.
See what happens.
Just see what happens. Yeah. I mean, I don't like to plan ahead too much. I don't know how much, you know, I'm of a certain age now. I don't even like putting green bananas in the fridge to ripen because I don't know if I'm going to be around to eat it.
With Australia, how do you find they've come with terms of homophobia and accepting people? Do we have a long way to go, do you think? Or
we've come a long way, but transphobia is alive and well. It's just, it's that never used to be an issue.
Yeah,
because no one even thought of it.
It wasn't heard of really.
It wasn't heard of, and so you just get about your life, and people would just say, "Oh, that's a tall girl." People just wouldn't think of it.
It was unknown. Yeah,
but because it's just about now, and all these younger ones, and God bless them, that's fabulous. They want to push their issues, and I understand that, and they want equal rights, and they want this, and they want their birth certificate changed, and that's all well and good, but just go about it and do it. Don't.
It's creating a divide, isn't it?
It's just, and now it's, you know, there's, what's that song, Careless Whispers? There's, you know, you walk, it's all of, is it or isn't it? Or, you know, occasionally you go somewhere and someone will say, "Thank you, sir." I mean, that's outrageous. That's outrageous. My friend's overseas at the moment working with the show. She's one of the dressers and she just brought it up. Then the hotel staff said to her, and she went to the desk for something and they said, "Can we help you, sir?" I mean, and you'd never pick her in a fit. So, but she, you know, maybe she didn't put her girly voice on for a minute or whatever. So, you know, it's around, and it's a shame that it's still around. People should just get on, and I know that they want equal rights and they fight for it, and that's a very good thing. I'm not knocking that. But stop bringing all this agenda and this, and it's too much. Yeah. It's too much.
100%.
That's just my opinion. Yeah. It's just my opinion. I don't want to force my opinion on anyone.
No. And you're entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to your opinion. Now, I'm going to ask you two final questions. And the first one is, who would you like to see on Let's Chat Showbiz?
There's so many people around Adelaide that would be fabulous. Friends of mine too that would be great. Hans would be brilliant. You'd have a laugh. Wilsey. Yep. Fantastic. Peter Gers. Yeah. And even Rochelle and Fifi. Yeah, they'd be great. Princess Leia. Some of the Marys, some of the younger kids to have their opinion on, you know, I'm sure they've got a different opinion on things being a younger demographic. But yeah, and if you're sort of thinking the wider field in Australia, maybe Bob Down. He often comes to Adelaide and he's a good friend of Wilsey. He always stays with Wilsey. Someone like that. He'd be a lot of fun. Yeah, well, that's a good list there. Yeah. To get me started. And the final question I have for you is a question to ask the next guest. Now, we don't know who the next guest is,
Just a question to ask the next guest.
Oh, where is the most unusual place that you ever had sex?
Brilliant. That's fantastic. No, fantastic. Well, it's been fantastic having you on, Vonni. It's been great having you.
Thank you, Connor. And like I said, I'm privileged that I'm the first one. So I wish you Chookers all the best for the future ones, and I hope it's some very big success for you.
Thank you, Vonni. Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in. If you want more episodes of Let's Chat Showbiz, you can follow along on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Instagram, TikTok, and even Facebook for all you oldies. See you next time on Let's Chat Showbiz.